one of the other acquisitions was Cloudera acquiring Octopai's data lineage business, right? Well, I guess their whole
Yes.
business, which their business is data lineage and data cataloging. And what I think is interesting is, we've talked a lot about how critical data is to this, right? I think data is one of two core value drivers for the enterprise today, data and workflows. And so I think it's interesting to see, again, this balancing act of, on the one hand, I've got the management layer of being able to manage and control my data. And then that's the necessary component to enable the ability to then take that data and leverage it in a way that creates value. And I think, I actually am a fan of this acquisition, because I think this sort of completes Cloudera's portfolio, because I believe you have to have all this in one place. I mean, this space has historically been very segmented, and it has never aligned to the way a CIO needs to function. A CIO needs to look at their data landscape, their data architecture and pipelines as a unified whole. And so I think this acquisition is smart for Cloudera, because it potentially gives them the ability to do that.
Yes. So when I look at the data value chain as from a FinOps perspective and from a categorical perspective, it's just such a mess to think about the database, the data prep, the data integration, the data quality, the data catalog, the analytics, the machine learning, the modeling, the low code app and no code apps, the API management. It's like, how the heck do I ever get from here to here in a governed and trusted manner when there's 13 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 different solutions that I've got to use just to get from here to here? It's really frustrating. And I think that's part of where Cloudera has really succeeded in its, call it, post Hadoop phase. Obviously, Hadoop is no
Like that.
longer, it's no longer a dominant data source. And, Cloudera knows that. And they had to shift to figure out, what do we do next if we aren't going to die? So they became this highly governed end-to-end data platform. And they said, we're going to hang our hat on governance, not Hadoop anymore. But they realized there's some pieces that were missing. So I think this data source and data connector and data lineage piece is an important one, because we are headed towards an AI future where, honestly, we're going to ask for a lot of stuff through Gen AI, and the rest of it is going to be super abstracted. I don't care which app it comes from or which set of apps my answer comes from, as long as it reflects what my enterprise data is really talking about, and as long as that can be trusted at the end of the day. So this really helps Cloudera to bring in more data sources more quickly while retaining this governed environment. Really good.
Well,
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be super interesting, because, in our pre-planning, you said, is AI evolving this whole space? And I think it is, but maybe, I'm curious, maybe not in the same way you think so, because to me, what's really happening is that we've always had this sort of separation between the data architects and the data team that was responsible for massaging the data, collecting, massaging it, doing all the work that had to be done, so that we could then consume that data via BI platforms or whatever. Well, I think Gen AI is going to up the ante substantially further, right? So, Lineage was always this sort of connective tissue that allowed us, like, at the point of consumption, to say, hey, can we trust this data? Well, Gen AI, particularly with its penchant for hallucination, just changes the dynamic entirely, where it's like, now we need to have that automated. We need to be 100% sure, so that if we're leveraging RAG or some other mechanism to consume that data into these Gen AI platforms, that we can count on it. And so I think it is going to completely make the process so much more critical, and risky as well. So.